Rajni, what's wrong?
Tom, I have a script and I don't know what to do with it. Should I burn it? Feed it to my cat?
You need some writers group therapy.
Hello and welcome to Writers Group Therapy.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Roshni. We're writers helping writers. Ready for your session? The doctors are in. Okay, so you and I are both in a writers group. We co-lead it. But this I always thought was really fascinating. I got really fascinated by the idea of writers groups a couple years ago. I was reading a book by one of my favorite authors, Patricia C. Reedy. She does kids and YA fantasy. And it was either in the dedication or in the afterword, but she thanked her writers group and she named everybody else in the group, which was about 6 or 7 people. And I looked at that list and I went, oh my gosh, I know every single one of these names. Either I had read that author or I had seen their books in the bookstore. They were all published and I was like, wow, I'm like, maybe there's just a meeting of fabulous people, like whatever. But I did some more research and I found out that when her group started, they called themselves the Scribblies. None of them were published. They were just a bunch of friends who liked to write. So they met faithfully, I think like every week or something, and within 5 years, every single one of them had sold something. Most of them are still writing. And what's even crazier is this is before self-publishing. So this is when you could only get published through traditional channels like an agent or a manager or selling your work to a publishing house. And Ms. Reedy wrote a blog about it. She said they were all successful because they took their writing seriously and they were very constructive in their criticism with each other, but they didn't hold back. So I was thinking, pros, cons, do you need a writer's group? But if you don't have access to a writer's group or you don't like sharing your work, do you need one to succeed?
That's a really cool story, actually. I hope all the people in our writers group are successful writers in 5 years. That would be amazing.
We got about 3 more years to go, right?
Yeah. There are some people who are just going to be natural talents at writing, and people read their work and love it and buy it and produce it, and yeah, those people are fantastic and wonderful. But most of us are not those people, so it's okay. But we have each other, so that's why writers groups are great, because it helps us all rise together and share and learn together. And I can't imagine the last few years without the writers group. It's been such a great influence on my writing and just being part of a group and being really supportive and motivational in many ways. It's been fantastic. So I really do encourage everyone to join or start a writers group.
Yeah, I mean, so you think it is necessary for success?
Well, I don't think it's necessary for success, but I certainly think it improves your chances and expedites it, because, so if you're in a writers group, you've got a peer group that is supportive, but also, in our group, I think we're critical enough that we really help each other improve. We're not just patting each other on the back. We're really trying to make a difference in each other's skills and improve each other. And we learn from each other. So when I read your work and the other people in the group's work, I learn from that process of reading different styles of writing and different genres. And it's just really helpful. One of the things I've always heard from every other writing mentor I've ever talked to, it's read a lot, read as much as you can. And we get to do that in our scripts and in our sessions of the writers group. So
yeah. And I think it's important too, because I know, for example, in our group, everybody comes from such different backgrounds as far as like their upbringing, as far as like what they bring to the table. Some are more actors, some are more writers, some are more producers. So everybody can have really good input from the technical standpoint, from the, as an example, we have someone writing a kid's book about adoption, and I said, you should talk to this other girl in our group because she was adopted. So she can tell you what that experience is like, So just having that diverse background as well just helps. As far as like, I wouldn't have thought that way because I didn't grow up that way. I don't have those experiences, but I'm trying to write about it, if that makes sense.
That's fantastic. Yeah, experiences. We all have very different experiences, so that's extremely helpful. When you write about a particular topic, we do a lot of research, but we can also get that kind of input from other people who've actually lived it too, right in our own group. So, I mean, we all have our own strengths and weaknesses as writers too. So it's not just, research and content. It's also about technique and style and those sorts of things. Like I've always talked about, you're great with characters and, I'm good with plot and story and action. So by working together and reading each other's work, it helps us improve our weaknesses and, we get to use our strengths to help each other too. So,
So what do you think, if you were a writer and you're like, I think I want to join a writer's group, what would you look for in a group? What would be the sign of a good and healthy group that would help you grow?
Well, it's if there's a group that is your, what you would consider your peers, and they're in the, writing the same kinds of things you're writing, that's a good way to start, because some are specifically TV, some are specifically movies, some, obviously, prose, poetry, all those different ones have different kinds of writers group. Ours is kind of cool because we do all of that. It kind of gives you a wider range of types of writing, because I don't write novels, but I like reading the novels that some of our writers have brought to the table, so to speak. And it makes me think about, what if I decided to take one of my film ideas and make it into a novel too? Or I look at their film and I try to think, or their novel, and I try to think about, well, how would this play out as a movie too? So it's kind of an interesting exercise to read different kinds of materials. So one of the things to look at in the group is, what do they read? Some groups only read movies, some only read TV. So find the group that has the right mix of that for you. Some charge dues. We charge a little bit, but not a lot. But some charge a lot more. So, and some have only a limited number of people. So there's they only add new people when somebody leaves. And we don't have a limit on ours. But that's something you might want to talk up to someone about to see if that's works for you. If there's a really big group, that means you might not get to present your material as often. If it's a smaller group, you might have more opportunities to present your material.
Yeah, that's true. I one of the first writers groups I attended out here, great group. I went in as an actor just to read only, but I think the group was about 30 to 50 people, and they only met once a month. But it was like, you sign up, and if you miss that day, you can't sign up for like months, because there just was such limited time and slots. I think too, a big thing to look at is, as far as what's a good writing group, dedication. And I mean, by that I mean, like, for example, our group is very small, but the people that come are dedicated to coming every time, or as much as they can. So you want people who are serious about their work and are willing to come and put the time in, versus like, oh, I'll come every 6 months or something, because, well, first of all, then you don't have a group, but then also as you get to know your peers in that group, you can trust what they say. You can trust their feedback, because you work with them on a regular basis.
Yeah, that dedication is really important. You need to be there for your group members as well. It's not just about you. You're there, and you can learn by reading other people's work. Don't just show up when it's your turn to present, because that's not fair. You're giving and receiving equally. You should be, at least in your group. You're getting feedback from other people. You should be there to give them feedback on their work as well. So if you go into a group, be prepared to be. It's part of a little community of writers, really, and we've made some great friends through the group too. And we support each other outside of the group by going to each other's plays and readings and just supporting them on social media and that kind of stuff as well. So
So, well, what do you guys think? Are you in the market for a writers group, and what would you want in your ideal writers group? Tweet your thoughts to us at WG Therapy. Check us out online at writersgrouptherapy.com. There'll be show notes online for today's episode, and if you like what you hear, subscribe and share it with your friends. We'll see you next week.